So, what exactly happens when you bring some nerds together on Google Chat to talk about perhaps one of the biggest movies of the year? You get a spoiler-rich review. So, here's Stacy, Sebastian, and of course James to break down in detail the Avengers Infinity War spoiler-rich review, starting now.
So, as we all know, Marvel's 10-year anniversary brought us Infinity War. And yeah, we're just gonna dive right in. And I'm saying the words now. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. Ring a shame bell. Make people know this is a spoiler filled review. There's like zero way to review this movie
I feel like
without.
if you're one of the six people in the world that haven't seen Avengers, what are you waiting on? Like, the net is dark and full of spoilers.
Very, very dark. And what well, who wants to take the comic history of this Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War?
So I can do that.
Yeah.
The Infinity Wars in the
Yeah.
comics is vastly different from the Infinity Wars that we see that Marvel has been building for 10 years. It's a fantastic asset, but I think trying to translate the themes of the Infinity War from the comic directly would have been it wouldn't have been written well. So in the comic books, Thanos is two things you should know about him. He's a Titan, which means he's extremely naturally powerful from his race, and he was a mutant. Which we don't say that word in Marvel. That's a dirty word in MCU. But
Very dirty, unless Disney brings it home. Bring it home, Disney.
Yeah, so he was a mutant Titan, and he was dubbed the Mad Titan on his home planet because he had radical beliefs and he was a bit insane and extremely overpowered. Now, the thing to note about Infinity Wars is Thanos wasn't motivated by some noble motivation that he had in the comics, but rather he was in love with the personification of death, who's a girl, and he wanted to get into her panties, and he thought that the best way to do that was to gather the Infinity Stone and destroy everything in the universe.
No, I'm kind of sad that we didn't get that version of the story, because I think that in itself is a cool bit to tell. But we'll get down to the other.
But they were smart, because if you notice, they referenced Hela in the movie as the goddess of death. And I feel like they've left the plot open where she can come back. Like, a lot of things that have been done in the last 10 years with death have been extremely calculated, having seen it before.
Okay.
I didn't think about that.
Hela was a badass villain. She was a badass villain. I was disappointed we didn't get more Hela in Ragnarok. So we don't have that, but we do have him having interesting motives nonetheless. And we see a very different type of villain for Marvel. Marvel has been accused over the past 10 years of having throwaway villains. And as a hardcore Marvel fangirl, it's always been disappointing that their savior villain was Loki. And we got a totally different. They upped the ante all the way with Thanos. I mean, it's rare that you find a villain, and this was a point my son raised, that the villain doesn't win. The villain never wins. That's why we got superheroes. And they brought a villain to life who you liked, even though it enraged you, you liked him. He was well developed.
Yeah.
And he won.
Yeah, pretty much. So much so that it feels like this is Thanos's film versus a group of superheroes.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't an Avengers film. It was here's Thanos and he's a badass. I think Josh Brolin did an extremely good job of humanizing the character. There were moments when I doubted my motivations for hating him because he's been written all of these years to be this fearsome creature. And then we have that scene with baby Gamora where you actually see him intrigued. He was intrigued by her spirit. He was intrigued by her tenacity to live, and that she was brave. And that started him being more human. And I love that moment on the cliff when Red Skull.
We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that.
Okay.
We're talking the villain. We're talking the villain for now.
Yeah.
We're going to the deaths next. We're going to the deaths next. But
and he was well developed. And not only that, I think the badassery that was the animation of him, because he was such a graceful, moving villain. Like there was nothing awkward about this giant man who can kick Hulk's ass.
Yeah.
The Hulk fight, the Thanos versus Hulk fight. Now in the comics, they've butted heads several times, and you saw a brief touch of that, but you saw the Hulk coming out all, yeah, Hulk smash. And then you saw Thanos. And what I loved about that scene was you didn't have Thanos just raging, fighting. It was calculated.
Yeah.
And Ebony Moore saying when one of the Black Order was coming up and going to intervene, he was like, no, let him have his fun. And you just got this feeling that, this is not going to end well for the Hulk. And instead of just raging, fighting, it was calculated. Each move was calculated. And he just took the Hulk down.
I was kind of laughing at that scene because I had some friends like, yeah, Hulk is gonna destroy Thanos in the movie. I don't understand how they think like Thanos could be a big deal. I was like, nah, everybody is gonna get licked, proper cut ass. Even so much so I started to troll people and say, you know what? Hulk is gonna do really well. I think you're gonna enjoy Hulk in Avengers. And then they came back with a very sad look on their faces.
Can we just stop for a minute and admire the annoyance that was Ebony Maw? Like, we all know that bootlicking asshole.
No. I loved him. I think he was the best developed of the Black Order. Even though we know we couldn't get everything we wanted, and we know that in the comics the Black Order is badass. I just loved his Shakespearean, theatrical, be grateful for you are being sacrificed for the might of Thanos. And he was just all dramatic.
Like I knew police like that in school who would kiss just and then he went
I mean, and his movements, and when you had the fights, he was just so fluid. I just adored him. I adored him.
The telekinesis that I've seen in any franchise so far, outside of the cartoons, like the way that it was watching artistry in motion,
Yeah,
he was really fluid and beautiful. All right, so to bring it home, and the reason why we scream spoilers at the top of our lungs, the biggest take home from this movie was we knew we were going to lose people. We knew there were going to be deaths because of it's movies and people have contracts, and we went in expecting deaths, and yeah, we got deaths, but we didn't get the deaths we expected. We expected to say goodbye to the original Avengers, bye Iron Man, bye Cap, bye Widow. And
the thing that you need to know about Marvel, and you saw it extremely calculated in Secret Wars and how they got the Peter Parker asset. Marvel knows how we fanboys and girls operate. So I wouldn't take any stock into who has contracts, who doesn't have contracts. Because if you didn't know, when they just collapsed, they did an extinction level event in the comics last year where they collapsed their ultimate asset into Marvel 616. And if you don't know, comics are broken up into alternate realities, and each alternate reality has their own thing. So there was Ultimate Marvel and 616, which is main Marvel, that was at the same time. And they wanted the Spider-Man asset back. So one of the main motivations for it was, one, dealing with the mutants that they don't have access to for MCU, and the assets that they don't have. So they put them in one side out of this event. And they were like, yo, if you don't give us Peter Parker, we'll kill him and bring Black Miles Morales because everyone loves him. And so Sony was like, fuck, we're not fucking with these guys. And that being said, Marvel Cinematic is orchestrated like a piece of chess. right? So we are actually going to be 100% surprised, I think, by who's going to come back next year, because I don't think, looking at the contracts, it takes a day to do a contract. I
I
think,
agree.
Mhm.
So both of you guys, right? Do you
Yeah.
think there will be a hint of FF at all? You think we'll go there?
if what? Sorry.
If there's gonna be a hint of Fantastic Four at all?
I know that they're trying to amalgamate all of their assets back into the MCU. I don't think they will touch Fantastic Four for a little while because of the damage that was done to the property by Sony. It does leave it open for it because we have Galactus, we have Thanos, we have
A lot
all
of things.
these cosmic level entities that play in MCU. Like, they talk about them and they reference them. It's like how they've referenced Magneto with the twins and not referenced Magneto in Age of Ultron. Like, we know Magneto's their dad. It's somewhat mentioned, but they just talk about an ominous him, you know? So I don't know if they'll bring the Fantastic Four, but what I do know and what we should look for is, one thing to note is that Robert Downey Jr. is tired of playing Iron Man.
Yeah.
I feel like what they will do is they're going to take the deaths that they have and bring some key people back that we weren't looking for. The question is, how far back in the movie are they going to fix? Are we going to get Loki back? Are we going to get Heimdall back? Are those forever deaths?
We had, let's list off the deaths for these good folks.
Yes.
We had, in the first 5 minutes, dear Lord, they took Loki. They took Heimdall. The next big death we had was Gamora.
Yeah.
And that Gamora's death played a purpose with the Soul Stone, since she was the only one who knew where the Soul Stone was. And we had the Red Skull coming in as a specter, explaining to Thanos that in order to get the Soul Stone, you have to sacrifice a soul for a soul. And that was a pivotal moment in the movie because, again, it comes back to humanizing the villain, where we saw Thanos loving Gamora.
Now, before we even go further, let's just touch on Loki. I don't think Loki's dead. Loki loves himself way too much to be heroic, and he has his mother's witchcraft and a giant's power. So I 100% think that's a clone.
Yeah, but Thanos made it clear there's no deaths, there's no resurrections this time, and he snapped his little neck. Now, don't get me wrong. I want my Tom Hiddleston Loki to be alive, but
I don't think it's dead, yo. I think
I don't think it's tricks to work on Thanos. I don't think it's tricks to work on Thanos.
I think it's final.
And to come down to the end of the movie, the last 10-15 minutes, we had what's now being called on the internet the dusting, where we got that moment that I don't know for anybody else, but I will raise my hands. I wanted that snap. I wanted that snap of Thanos' fingers.
Oh yeah.
And we got that snap with the glove, and half of existence is wiped out.
It's that line. Next time, go for the head.
Yeah.
And we lost a lot of the new people in the MCU. We lost Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Drax, Mantis, Black Panther, Groot.
We lost
Bucky. We lost Falcon. We lost a lot of folks.
I was surprised.
Fury. We lost the girl from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We still don't know the repercussions of
Maria Hill.
I was surprised that the Panther and Spidey. And I wish that we weren't also aware, because it was like, yeah, whatever. We have a Spider-Man movie and Panther movie coming out. But I wish those would have hit a little bit heavier, you know?
No, but what we don't know is the timeline.
Bingo. Because those movies can land before Infinity War.
Correct, like Ant-Man and Wasp is before the Infinity
War. So because it's coming out after doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be
what I want
after Infinity War.
I want to see Tony come back and Pepper Potts is dusted. He's going to lose his shit.
Beautiful. I love the introduction of Tony Stark because we got some interesting byplay between Tony Stark and Doctor Strange, and we also got a lot of interesting character development and character arcs coming off from this movie.
Did anybody else waited for an on-screen moment where they both said "No shit, Sherlock," or was it just me?
Me,
I think
I
everybody
wanted
wanted
that,
Peter.
and the Russo brothers have explained that it would have been too obvious, but I wanted that moment.
Good.
I
Was
between them
Benedict
was so beautiful. They
Benedict
were,
Cumberbatch was like, he didn't want to do that. It's too corny. He was like, why do it?
but the byplay between them was really, really.
Yeah, I think
It was
that
stellar.
was good.
I
It
think
was one of the most powerful pairings that we got.
yeah, and it was just a matter of arrogance. They're both supremely arrogant characters.
Yeah.
And to see their arrogance come into play and them having to check each other was I think very important for future films, especially with Benedict Cumberbatch. And I think also there is a setup for Tony to move into a mentorship role, because you saw while he was Iron Man, and I mean, they dropped a fucking moon on him and he still survived it. What Tony excelled at in this movie was creating mentorship with new heroes. And I think that's where they're going to position Iron Man going forward.
He got some really good action scenes though in this film. Like, wow.
That nanotech suit.
But that suit was fantastic. And we also saw the Iron Spider suit from the comic.
Yes.
Which was amazing.
For Peter, it was well played, and the suit is freaking fantastic.
We finally have a Peter Parker that is good at Spider-Man. Like, Tobey Maguire was a great Peter, but a shitty Spider-Man. And then the new kid, what was his name?
Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, Garfield was a great Spider-Man, but a shitty Peter Parker. And Holland has managed to get that fun, that line when he was like, "Oh, we're using our made-up names."
We got the Spider-Man from the comic, who's a smart-ass, wisecracking kid who's just struggling to keep his head above water and just survive. I think that's why he's one of the favorites from the comic, because he's so relatable and approachable, and he's all of us. He's sitting on a front.
Like, if you read online, that scene where he died, that was improv.
Yeah.
It
was.
It was? Okay, I did not see that article.
I think it's good that you brought up the improv thing. I think, like, when you look at some of the behind-the-scenes commentary, when you're talking to the directors, a lot of these guys now, I'm not sure if it's like a Marvel thing that they're doing, but they have their script, they have their plan, but they are giving like a lot of their actors freedom to improv.
To shape the character. You see that in Chris Hemsworth's Thor.
But that's something that isn't new to Marvel. Marvel started that way back in 2008, because I don't know if you guys know, there wasn't much of a script when they started with Iron Man back in 2008, and some of the most powerful moments and scenes were actually Robert Downey Jr.'s improv.
Okay.
And
so that's in their DNA from day one.
That's in their DNA from day one.
One thing that Marvel does well that other franchises have failed is they're creating moments. And it was very touch and go for me when I first saw Infinity. Like, I wanted it, but I was just so confused as to how they're going to take all of these characters and weave them together in a meaningful way. Especially with Black Panther. And they did it. They did it well because of creating those moments.
I think because they know what the fans want. All praise to Kevin Feige for always standing true and staying firm to the fans and to that source material, because we know these characters. We love these characters. These characters shaped our childhood. They still shape our adulthood. They are such a strong part of our lives that we want to see them done correctly.
Yeah.
Each character, for me, my personal
favorite. Every time I see a Bryan Singer's mutant story, I die a little bit inside, you know?
I am a huge Storm fan, and I am praying to all the gods, all 12, all of them, that the properties go back to Marvel, because Storm was one of the biggest characters of my childhood.
There's a Trinity
I love
Storm called Abio Jackson. Can you just imagine Abio?
I loved Storm from little girl, and the Halle Berry portrayal stuck a blade in my chest. And every time I think about it, it twists the knife. And Marvel decided that you know what? We are taking a risk on our fans. We are going to believe that these characters, how they're written, how they're shaped, how they're developed on the pages of the comic, is what these fans want to see. And in taking that risk, they brought some of the best superheroes to the screen and to life. And even when you take them out their element.
What makes it too? Look at what they did with Thor's hammer. They took Janjabon, and then they took, which is Billy's hammer that was given to Billy, and then Billy's axe, and then they took the ultimate Thor's Mjolnir, and they merged them into something new that worked. Because the MCU sits in between Marvel 616 and Ultimate Marvel, for people that didn't know.
And it brings so much beauty because you know the characters. When you see them interacting out of their element, you know what to expect. And it gives such a beautiful dimension and depth to Infinity War because you had all these unusual pairings. You had Thor going off with Groot and Rocket, who he calls Tree and Rabbit, sorry. And you had Tony off there with the Wizards. Tony and Iron Man off there with the Wizards. Then you had Star-Lord, Drax and Mantis meeting up with Tony, Doctor Strange and Spider-Man. And you had all these fun interactions and byplays. And because we know the characters, we knew these things could work. And they put it on screen for us to see them working.
Yeah, and then there was also the cleverness of Marvel in understanding that they had to mix and match in unusual ways. So, for example, I think that pairing of Thor, Peter Dinklage, and Bradley Cooper was.
Oh, can we please talk about Materion? So I admit it, no shame in the game. Who went in looking for a little tiny dude running around, and then you saw this 9-foot giant dwarf, and you heard the voice. I think that was brilliant on the Russo brothers' part because everybody knew he was in the movie. Everybody knew he had a considerable role in the movie, an important role.
We knew.
We knew he was the dwarf, but we weren't expecting the dwarf.
I think what was interesting about it is that Dinklage, he doesn't like to play anything that plays to what he actually looks like. So people didn't expect him to be like a small dwarf in the film. And then to see how he was still the dwarf, but like 10 stories high was fantastic.
And vulnerable. He gave us a very vulnerable.
He gave us a beautiful portrayal because he has guilt over doing the gauntlet for Thanos because he did it to save his people, and then Thanos still went bye-bye and wiped them out. And he played really well to that. He's a stellar actor. But it was fab for me to see him as a 9-foot dwarf. I heard the voice and then I looked up and I'm like, oh, I love this moment.
Talking about meaningful adaptations, what they've done with Shuri and Wakanda, they've not made Wakanda a token. And it's so easy to do. Yeah. But they made Wakanda a force to be reckoned with. And the fact that Shuri, for all intents and purposes, is the smartest person in MCU is very telling.
It was beautiful how she just went, and she's like, why didn't you all do it like this? And Bruce is there like, I'm super smart. I got a ton of PhDs and masters and shit. And Tony's a freaking genius. And wait. Okay, so we didn't think about that. It was a beautiful moment showcasing her intellect because in the comics she's brilliant.
In the comic book ranking, I think as it stands right now, the smartest person in the comic rankings is Lunala, Moon Girl, who is an Inhuman, and then right under Lunala is Mr. Fantastic, then Amadeus Cho, then Tony Stark. And then Shuri, and then Black Panther, because T'Challa is actually very intelligent in the books. Yeah. But there's a black young girl who's now the smartest person in Marvel. She's so smart that the Kree was like, "You need to kill that bitch."
but they've taken, and I hope this comic storyline does come up for Shuri because in the comic at periods in time she's taken on the mantle of Black Panther.
Yeah, when she fed up with
We've seen her with her little gloves and stuff and doing her own thing.
To be honest, I'm actually not. I don't want to go there yet. If it opens up the door for T'Challa, King of the Dead, sure. But otherwise, I think I'm okay with her not being Black Panther for a while.
I think we need more representation of women. I think we need more, even with Captain Marvel on the horizon and Wonder Woman coming out and absolutely slaying. I think it's been a long while in coming that our female characters or superhero characters, they need to step up. We've seen them as supporting roles, but
Well,
which I get, but I think what I love with Okoye and
Dora.
Shuri is the fact that T'Challa defers to them. He might
Yeah.
be king, and he might be Black Panther, but Okoye does what he has to be enhanced to do naturally.
that's his general.
Yeah, and she is badass.
General.
And then the
Yeah.
fact that Shuri is the reason that he defers to her. If you notice that whole setup, he defers to his women.
Yeah.
And they run this as a committee. The scene that I loved in Black Panther was when you saw how many women were on the council, and the fact that he's not doing anything without equal consent from all of the tribes. He's not like, I am King T'Challa, do this. He's there was an old woman, there's a young woman, there's his mother, there's Shuri, there's Okoye. They all have a seat at the table, which I love that is coming from Wakanda. I think what we need more is I would love to see some of the mutants get their own. Like, we need a Storm's origin story. I have a feeling in my heart they're gonna butcher Black Phoenix. Like,
We don't talk about those. We don't
Yeah,
talk about those.
I don't know.
We don't talk about those. We're talking about good things, dude. We're talking good things.
I'm interested in New Mutants, though, but we'll table that for
another discussion. I'm so nice into that film.
All right, so bringing it back home. All right, so we had Captain America, and well, everybody was disappointed we didn't get that Steve Rogers, Tony Stark face-off, but who else got a little moist at seeing Nomad in the shadows?
I like that entire squad. I like that entire squad. So his entrance, Widow, Falcon. I love Proxima Midnight, from the name to the character. I just think she's awesome.
Yeah.
And, I wish I'd seen more of her.
She I love the guy who looked like he must have been a Kree. He looked like the guy who's the nemesis with her husband.
Yeah,
he looks like a
slave.
Like the guy, like the Fantastic Four Kree. Is it Kree? Yeah, it's the Kree. He must have been a Kree. But what people don't know too is that the Proxima Midnight, the guy, her husband,
Obviously,
the big thing was his brother. So they're a family. And Ebony Moore was just an outsider that he had from young because of his talent with telekinesis.
Okay.
Yeah, so Proxima Midnight was married to the guy with the staff, which is why he was super pissed off when they kicked his ass.
Yeah. But that whole scene was fab. I think when you saw the shadow, because nobody's looking there, and then you saw the shadow with the train passing, and she throws the spear, and my boy just does this and catches it. The whole theater went mad.
The Easter egg that they put in with Wanda Maximoff and the potential to have her bring the mutants into existence.
But I was wondering about that. It's good that you bring that, because I like that is a great opportunity to do so. So I'm just waiting to see what they do with the next book.
And to explain this, there is a story arc in the comics called House of M, and in it, so let's backtrack a little bit with the Maximoff twins. The Maximoff twins were children of Magneto, and on their own, they had genetic potential to be energy-wielding mutants, similar to their father, just like Polaris is. And they're all siblings, Polaris, Scarlet Witch, and Peter Maximoff, Quicksilver. What happened with the twins is their mother ran away from Magneto and ended up with the High Evolutionary in Wondergo. And Wondergo is a place where science and magic are perfectly balanced. And what happened in Wondergo was that energy altered the powers of the twins. So Wanda Maximoff ended up with the ability to manipulate reality. And what she was doing is she was pushing probability to do things that she wanted to do. And Peter became super speed. What happened in House of M was the same thing that we're seeing being built up, where Vision fell in love with Wanda and they had a real relationship. They actually had children in the books. And it was because of her powers subconsciously giving her children. What happens is the souls of those children, the children died and Vision died, and that drove her insane. And she manipulated reality on a massive level, changing the world so that mutants were in charge of the world, and Magneto's house, which is the House of M, was a ruling faction. Now, what they've done by emulating that love story between Vision and Scarlet Witch is very important, especially since they've repeated a number of times that she has the same powers as the Mind Stone. It means that there's potential for Wanda to be able to manipulate reality on a subatomic level. So they've created an excellent plot device in her.
So
She was dusted. So I'm just pointing out she was dusted. Yes.
You found she wasn't that good?
No, she was dusted. She was dusted.
She disappeared.
She was part of the dusting. So, but we'll come to predictions in a bit. We'll close off with our predictions because we gotta keep hitting the notes on this movie. Go ahead, James.
One thing I just want to mention quickly. I feel like she was, aside from Thor, who was literally godlike, his power levels was incredible. I was surprised at how much power they gave Wanda. Like he was saying, like she's like basically the mind gem in terms of what she's able to do.
Yes, when with the big fight scene in Wakanda,
yeah,
she was upstairs with Vision, and the fight was going okay, and then they dropped these big wheel-like things that were taking over the field, and our heroes were kind of being. Well, they were getting their ass handed to them, and then she came down and she drops down and she's like, bam!
Wrecked.
Bam, bitches. And Okoye is like, why was she upstairs all the time? so you saw her power growing and you saw the potential that they can unleash with her later on. And because with all the deaths, we know that there's going to be, obviously, some resurrections.
It's how vulnerable Elizabeth Olsen has made this character. And Elizabeth is the youngest sister of the Olsen twins. And I think she's the best actress in that family. Yeah, she's the baby sister.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, her family doesn't age well.
Oh boy. Well, I mean,
yeah.
Right. So going back, Elizabeth Olsen.
So I think her Scarlet Witch is very powerful. I think the love triangle between Cap, Widow, and Hulk is going to be very interesting when that plays out.
Oh my God! So,
yeah,
there's a current raging debate whether Cap and Nat are involved, which was with what Falcons.
I am Helen Keller. Like I'm blind and deaf, darling.
which some people took Falcon's statement, "Oh, this is going to be awkward when Bruce returns," to mean that they were in a relationship. And well, obviously, because in the events of Age of Ultron, Bruce and Nat were developing a little some. So
not developing. Psychos. She's the only person that can control the Hulk.
Wasn't Cap with Sharon Carter?
That was
at the end of Civil War. They were kind of
tension between him and Widow.
But in the comic, there's a storyline where Cap and Nat have a son.
Well, not only that, I mean, you're on the run from the government, sharing close quarters for all that time, and innate
2 years, because it's been 2 years since the Civil War and the Sokovia Accord and all of that. So It's been 2 years. So the three of you versus the world for 3 years. Thank you for that, Ian. Thank you.
But, how that bomb develops.
I think it's interesting the juxtaposition of Hulk not wanting to participate in the battle.
Yeah, that's something we need to address, because aside from the Asgardian ship, we don't see Hulk again.
So the Russo brothers actually made a comment on that, and I think most of us were thinking that Hulk was just afraid because he got his ass cut, but they were saying that it was a situation where Hulk was tired of saving Bruce. So he was like, "Look, I'm done. I'm out of this fight. You handle your business."
Especially
but that doesn't hold true.
Long on Planet Hulk.
This is what they said. That is their notes from the.
What I think.
I saw that note as well, but I disagree. I think, and we have to remember that we're going to get a lot of misdirection. But I think that it's more than him getting his ass handed to him. It's more than him not wanting to save Bruce. It's a struggle that was alluded to way back in Age of Ultron, where Bruce was getting tired of Hulk and they were struggling. And then you saw it again in Thor Ragnarok, where it is they had this struggle and Bruce is essentially tired of the Hulk, and the Hulk is tired of being used. And they were alluding to that for a while, that there's a struggle between them. So it may go deeper than that.
They weren't saying he was afraid. They're saying that it was what you're talking about, the struggle. They cancel that thought about him being afraid.
I feel like there's a lot of tropes. Like we all make the assumption that that Hulk is simple, and he's not simple at all. I
No.
think he had a lot of freedom on planet. He lived on a planet where he was loved. He was loved. He was worshipped. He was revered.
Versus being a bane of destruction on Earth.
Yeah, and then to go back to Earth, to get his ass handed to him, to see his friends die, because he actually had friends in the
Asgardians
who were murdered brutally by Thanos, and he was not able to help them after being their protector. There's a lot of that going on, and while he might not be the best communicator and he doesn't have a large intellect, he's not simple. The Hulk is an emotionally complex being because he's driven by rage. And if there's no rage, if there's just sadness, he's not going to come out.
Exactly. So I think it's a lot deeper than just him not wanting to save Bruce. I think we will get more of that come part 4, which is 1 year off. Screw you, Marvel.
Yeah, there's going to be a showdown, a reckoning between Thor and between Hulk and Thanos, 100%. I think in the next movie, they've written it for that.
Okay, let's talk about some of
and I feel it has to do with Black Widow.
Probably. She's a key. Let's talk about some of the visual effects. Now I am a huge fangirl. I love my Marvel, but my core hero, my favorite superhero is Batman, and I'm a DC girl in that respect. I want him done right. I'm sorry. Give me him done right. Give me my detective. But a lot of criticism is held to DC in terms of their visual effects, in terms of everything always being so dark. And the comparison I'm looking at today is that even with a cosmic scale universe ending and having very dark scenes, Marvel still kept a lot of light in terms of their color choices, in terms of how their camera shots were set up.
The fact that they could actually light Black people.
We're going there.
For one.
I'll make a deal. We'll do a review of Black Panther and we can talk. We'll touch that one. But in terms of just how they scale their things.
I was worried about Thanos, boy. Like them pictures that we saw of Thanos, he was looking like a fucking Ivan Ooze.
Yeah, we're getting that, but he was well lit. He was well colored, and I like that they took away some of the brightness that pops on the comic page, because we know it's not going to pop necessarily just as well on the screen. And you could always tell the transition of location with Marvel, where when something's like on Titan, and I wonder if this was a deliberate color choice. We had a lot of the orange hues as well.
That's because of the soul. Right?
Yeah, and then we had the Soul Stone being orange as well, and then we had again the coloration of orange when Thanos achieves his goal and is sitting down watching the sunrise on a grateful universe.
Also, I feel Marvel spent their money on their animation, but they did it on their directing. It was one of the movies where, like, Raccoon, Groot, the voice direction that they've given a lot of their animated characters made them alive. Like, there was at no point that I was watching this that I couldn't believe that Thanos was real. And sometimes with DC, their animation, the way that they build their monsters is unbelievable. And Infinity Wars did a great job, like being smart about how you did Dinklage. The coloration of Thanos that they fixed after they realized fans were pissed because they fixed it. Raccoon Rabbit, Groot. Groot communicates with one word at best.
3 words.
I am emotion that Vin Diesel carries in
Vin Diesel is a genius for that. I dislike the Fast and Furious, but he does Groot a credible job.
Like I was in Africa. Like I've actually been to Africa.
A mental institution.
You know, like I've been to Africa before and I saw Africa. I didn't see Americans trying to be African, you know? The detailing and the costuming.
So if we just a comment on like the technical achievements that they've done here. I think like Mark Bernard, like when he was making comments about Infinity War. Like, this is something that, by all intents and purposes, should not exist. This 10-year stretch of storytelling. And I think what is so good about what Marvel has achieved, and all the people that are working with them, is that they seem to learn from film to film and apply it to the next project down the road, which is fantastic. Because now we get the energy of what's happening in Wakanda. We get the energy of like telling setting the scenario for like we're in a cosmic space from Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor, and it's amazing. Like, and then they're able to put it together in Infinity War in the end. So now we have like all these places, but it's all connected. We believe it. It looks brilliant. Amazing.
But again, the transition as well. You can always tell when you're somewhere else because the lighting is different, the colors is different. And it was something that I had a problem with in BVS and in Justice League. Now, in the comic, you guys know this. Metropolis is bright, Gotham is dark. But you can never really differentiate where you are in DC movies because everything is dark and gritty and
And
grimy.
that's something they got right even since Doctor Strange. Like every time Doctor Strange jumped from location to location, you could tell. You felt like you were in.
The lighting is different. The energy is different that's coming across to you from the screen. And it was beautiful because you're moving through even on the different planets when you're out in space
Because
with the
that
Guardians.
scene with the moon. Like when he dropped the moon. Also,
But
the way that they
they did it
used
so
Tony's
far.
nanotech was very clever. Whoever animated that had a great understanding of the mechanics of nanotechnology. And Marvel is good at the physics of their world, right? Their physics and chemistry always make sense. That's a rule of thumb in the workroom. There's like a Bible of how physics works. Like there's a way that telekinesis works. There's a way teleportation works, and you see it expressed in this very well. And the visual effects, like Ebony Maw, I just wanted to punch his fucking face. And that's because they did a great job animating him. And the girl with the horns, like the
Proxima Midnight.
face, like the little drops of black that merge from her horns into her skin and then her hair.
I love her. She's awesome.
The details, the small details go a long way, and their visual effects go a long, long way in terms of what we see on the screen. And it's a credible job to everybody, not just the directors, because we know those guys do their bit, and we know the script writers do their bit, but all the people who do their visual effects.
I need that shield thing in my hand, like the wardrobe department on that. Yeah. I mean, their wigs were on point. Black Widow's hair looked like a woman who hasn't seen a fucking hair salon in 2 years. That is attention to detail that you could, like, she looked distressed. She needed to go to fucking Vidal Sassoon and get a mani-pedi,
But they put a lot of detail as well in, and you see the effect. You know that time has ravaged them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, aside from the scruff on Steve Rogers being just hella fine, you can tell he's ragged. He's been on the run for 3
saw
years.
back his eye.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That was beautiful. We got him back.
On Rocket.
Oh my god, Rocket is adorable. I think a lot of people underestimate how deep his character is, and
What's
you
that
see
fucker like steal Bucky's
Bucky's arm. How much for the arm?
Have you read the script notes for what Groot said to him at the end?
Oh my god, no.
No,
I saw that James Gunn recently revealed, I believe it was yesterday, the reveal came out that when Groot is dusting, the word he says when he says Groot means dad.
Oh yeah?
Thank you, Marvel. I did not cry enough.
That is awesome.
As if Peter
See,
Parker
that
seen it,
movie
just
twice.
like, ugh.
You know, Peter Parker hugging Mr. Stark. I don't feel so good.
I don't
And
want to
hugging
go.
Tony, and I don't want to go.
And that is the one thing Tony was afraid of, why he pushed Spider-Man away. That was they realized. And that's why I think when he goes back to Earth and Pepper Potts is dead, that he is going to lose it.
He already feels responsible for his life.
Because there's a throwback when you go to the starting of the movie, when you first run into Tony and Pepper, he's discussing with her a dream where he dreams they have a child. And
a lot of
she's-
people don't realize this, but this is an Easter egg as well. The name that they give their child is actually a throwback to the comics, and it's one of Peter's enemies. So I'm very curious to see where they go with that. But it was one of Tony's annoying cousins that kept showing up in the comics, trying to take over Stark Industries. So that's very interesting. I don't know if that's intentional or just random, but
probably just a little Easter egg for us. But
yeah,
it was beautiful, and we knew that when you go all the way back to Avengers 1, and then when you had Age of Ultron, Avengers 2, it's very Tony centric in terms of Tony was the one who went up with the nuclear device to the Chitauri, to the home world, and he saw what was happening. And then in Age of Ultron, where Scarlet Witch did her little do on his brain, you saw his true vulnerability and what he is most afraid of, which is those he loves dying. And now when you come to Infinity War, it's still very much a Tony show. Even though everybody gets their moment to shine, his biggest fear has come to pass.
And also we have to take a moment to understand that in this infinite universe that we live in, and Thanos only kills on a planetary level, for him to be like, "Hey Tony, what's up, nigga?" means that Tony is not,
I too am cursed with knowledge.
yeah, and that means he knows Tony and he assessed Tony as a threat, and that says a lot.
Tony is one of the few survivors.
Yeah, I mean, Cap has always been the basic bitch of Marvel, you know?
He's the Superman of Marvel. The Boy Scout to do the right thing, dude.
He's more like the Green Lantern.
Sure.
Oh, no, dude, you did not go there. But again, it brings home the deaths that we saw in this movie, because everybody went in expecting the original 6 to die.
Yeah, we are 6 for 9.
And
what are your predictions for who's going to stay dead and who's coming back?
We aren't going there. We'll do that as a wrap up, because I'm still reeling. I saw the movie the first time. James and I had a little tete-a-tete outside after, and I went in late in the afternoon to see it again with Tracy Prime. And having seen it in the morning, been literally shell-shocked, shook, disturbed, confused, insane. I needed wine for the second viewing. I had wine with me
3 times, and each time there's something else to see that I missed.
Yeah.
All right. So we've seen we've discussed a lot. There's still so much more to dissect in this movie. There may be a part 2 to this where we bring in some of the other Tracys to add some new dimensions.
Let's go to post credits.
Let's go to the post credits and then thoughts and predictions. Post credits. We had Nick Fury, who everyone was looking for the entire movie. He wasn't there. He was just in the post credits with Maria Hill, driving along, talking about the stuff over Wakanda, which we assume is Thanos, because the timing of it would coincide with Thanos' arrival in Wakanda. And we see Maria Hill dusting. We see him pull out the old school 1980s, 1990s pager and pressing send. And he's dusted, gives us a beautiful swear word, and we see the Captain Marvel image,
which I think was lost on a lot of people in the cinema. There's like, okay,
they don't understand.
They don't understand.
Yeah,
that's another hint that they might bring the mutants back. So Carol Danvers is a very interesting character. She, on her own, is a military genius. She's a pilot. She's a very well trained hand-to-hand combatant. Even before her powers, she was a great ally to S.H.I.E.L.D. and the armed forces. And at the time, there was a Kree. And if you don't know what the Kree are, they're this very intelligent species that was going towards extinction. So they started experimenting.
We've had them hinted at in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
and in Humans.
With what brings Phil Coulson back to life. We've had them in Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, because Ronan the Accuser is a Kree. They have the war happening with
and what the Kree do is
Xandar.
they excel at genetic manipulation. So they started experimenting with human DNA, and that's what gave us the Inhumans. And the Kree, there was a Kree character on Earth named Marvel who's going to be played by Jude Law. And there's an event that happens that forces Marvel and Carol to be irradiated and his powers passing on to her. And the adaptation of the Kree DNA and the Kree powers in a human form created a superpowered being by the name of Carol Danvers, and who became Captain Marvel in a throat to Marvel. And what she is, she's overpowered. I don't know what powers are going to stay into the film, but she's able to fly. She has super strength. She's invulnerable. She has a form called binary, which jumpstarts all of her powers. She's able to absorb energy and redirect energy through energy blast, and she's also super intelligent. Why this is another throat to the mutants is because Carol Danvers is the reason why Rogue, as we know her in the comics in the 90s and in the cartoon, has her powers as she absorbed them from Captain Marvel and held on to her a little too long, and she put her in a coma. And that's what gave Rogue her invulnerability and flight, because that was all I was able to pass into her. So Carol, if anybody can push the story, it would be Carol. And her movie's set in the 90s as an origin story. So we're going to see how she got her powers and her interaction with Marvel. And that's what's coming out just before Infinity War. So it's going to give us some clues as to who's
what's coming.
No,
So-
just quickly, I think a lot of women are going to be very excited for this film when we start to see things coming out. I think it's going to be a good, just as good a moment, I think, as Wonder Woman. At least I'm hoping so. So looking forward to that.
I have a lot of faith in Brie Larson. The way that she did Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
I will say this. For 10 years, I've been saying it, and they have yet to prove me wrong. Marvel rewards the loyal.
Yeah.
Marvel rewards the loyalty. So
And
I have never been disappointed in a Marvel movie. I may have been disappointed in parts of the movie or in certain choices, but overall, the movies are at best enjoyable, at worst soul ripping. Thank you, Infinity War.
What I was good about Brie is, if you remember that scene in Scott Pilgrim versus the World where she sang Black Sheep, that's actually her. She recorded Black Sheep with Metric, and she insisted that she sang that move. She told the director, she's like, I can sing, I'm a trained singer, I'm singing that fucking song, you know.
Yeah.
And it added so much more to the show. So I just want to see what else she's bringing to this. Because Brie is one of those actresses that gets involved in the direction and creation.
Yes, you've seen a lot of pictures of her reading the comic book. So, and it's something that Marvel's characters, their actors do as well. They do a lot of research. They do a lot of research in the comics into what their character is, who their character is, the storylines, what they need to bring in terms of gravitas, in terms of humor, in terms of everything to shape the character onto the screen.
Yeah, you saw that in The Gifted as well, and not just the showrunners also do that. Like in The Gifted, there was a lot of concern over Polaris not having green hair. If you haven't watched The Gifted, check it out. It's a brilliant trope to the mutants, and it's also in MCU. And Polaris, what they did is they rewrote Polaris very early in the episodes to have her hair black because she was hiding, and then she went to jail, and slowly the actress's roots started turning green until she ended up with green hair. And that was because the fans were just like, put a green wig on that bitch. We've already seen what you fucking done to Medusa.
We are not touching Inhumans. We are not touching Inhumans. So to wrap this up and to bring it home, let's take it one at a time. Hopes, predictions, ideas for part 4, because we have a year to go. So we have a year of speculation. So we'll be continuing this speculation as more details arrive, with Ant-Man and the Wasp coming out in June. Then over in March next year, we have Captain Marvel before we get answers for Infinity Wars. So James, take us away. What do you think? What do you expect? What do you hope for Infinity War Part 4, Avengers Part 4? They ain't give us no name yet, mean bastards, because they know what we're going to do.
For me, I have full faith in what they're going to do at this point. I'm looking forward to possible scenes of Ant-Man going into the Soul Gem, and we have maybe a Soul World exploration because of what happens in the Ant-Man film. I'm looking forward to Captain Marvel just being a total badass, and for the deaths that we should have gotten in the first part happening in the second part. I'm excited. I'm just waiting to see what they do.
Ian.
I would like. I mean, the obvious comebacks are going to be the kids from Guardians of the Galaxy. They're coming back for sure. We're going to get Benedict back. Spider-Man is going to come back, and T'Challa. What I want, and this is just from driving the plot into the next phase of MCU. I really want Tony to be able to retire and have his kid. And he deserves it. I think the character deserves that much. And having him being able to come back and forth, I think would be great. I want to see the introduction of Ironheart. They are looking at bringing more women into mainstream Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I think passing the Iron Man mantle onto Riri and casting her as Rihanna, I think would just be fucking brilliant. Rihanna can
We'll send a note to Kevin Feige.
Yeah, she can act better than she can sing. So why not bring Rihanna and make her into Ironheart? That's what I want to see ending it up. I would love to see Thor reconcile and get Loki back. We need to see what happened to Thor's girlfriend. Like, where's this bitch? Did she die? And then I have some unresolved feelings about Peter Quill that they need to address. It's interesting
costing us the gauntlet.
I think it's interesting to see that his human side is what betrayed the universe. It wasn't the alien part of him; it was his humanity that.
Well, my son pointed out the hypocrisy yesterday of him telling Drax to control his emotions and to keep calm and to wait until Thanos gets the stone and everything, and then when they had the chance to save the universe by getting the gauntlet away from Thanos, you cost them that. So
yeah. Also, just to sidetrack, does anyone else notice that Drax is autistic as fuck?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been pointed out since the first Guardians movie, and he's become something of an icon in terms of a character who autistic children can look up to. And he's started to do. Dave Bautista has actually started to do a lot of work with autistic children and going to see the kids dressed as Drax and stuff because it's something they can relate to. Which is something fantastic about the Marvel Universe that I must say, their heroes do not live on screen alone. They exist among us, and they do a lot of good work out there, which we'll probably do in a separate chat. But
I'm excited to see the resolution, and it can go anywhere. I think I know that Nebula is gonna get that gauntlet at some point, and that's when the real fucking shit is gonna happen because she's the psychotic bitch. She's psycho.
For me, I do have a lot of hope where Nebula is concerned because I love Karen Gillian, Hoovian over here too, and she's been hella fucking fantastic as Nebula. But the loss of Gamora, when Gamora saved her, which is a plot device from before where it is she talked about how Gamora would always escape and leave her being tortured and stuff, and now the last time that she sees Gamora actually saves her from being tortured. So there's that to come into play. We saw the Infinity Gauntlet being destroyed, but we still go back across and there's the mold for it up at with
Is it
Dinklage.
destroyed? Is it destroyed?
Yes, it was very mangled and stuff after the snap.
Yeah, but not destroyed.
I don't think
we don't know if it's been destroyed. We don't know anything at this point. It's just
it's
all mangled and shit. So,
but he still has control over the Infinity.
He still has the stones. But
the stones.
remember, the gauntlet was built for him to be able to channel the power of the stones. And if it's mangled.
Yes and no. So the gauntlet was made in order to harness the collective power of the stones, right? As an individual, and because of Thanos' ability, he can use any one of the stones individually. So he could just use the reality stone.
Well, this is what I'm saying. But one of our heroes may need a new gauntlet, and you have the mold for it sitting there doing nothing right now. So that's an interesting area as well. Because if I was the dwarf who made it, I would have fucking destroyed it. Why are you showing me this gauntlet mold there? And we know the forge is back up. We know Thor got it working temporarily, but there's always. And then you have the reality stone in play, time stone in play. I do not think it's going to be as simple as somebody snapping and reversing. But I do think that the soul stone is going to play a major role because we know Gamora is inside of the soul stone. And we know from the comic that people within the soul stone can affect certain things happening. You have the soul world, you have all these things. So I think that's going to be a big thing.
Well,
In terms of deaths and resurrections, though, I'm not going to hang my heart and say, you know, all these guys are going, all these guys are coming back. I think they may surprise us again because we went in expecting one thing and they gave us something entirely different. So I'm not gonna say who I expect to come back because I have no expectations. I went in expecting to see Iron Man die and Iron Man live. I went in expecting to see Cap die and Cap lived. I went in expecting Doctor Strange to walk away normal and he's gone. So we have a lot of
make it fun.
we have a lot of speculation, and as things progress in terms of the movies coming out, we'll get more ideas and more thoughts and more directions. But personally, I want to see the Soul Stone and Gamora coming into play. Definitely want Nebula to kick some ass, and I definitely have no expectations and predictions in terms of that.
Well, and also just for people who don't know how Infinity Wars was resolved in the comic books, Nebula got the gauntlet from Thanos, and she reversed everything but her actually having the gauntlet. And it forced Thanos, because she went insane with the power, and it forced Thanos to join up with the Avengers to kill her to get it back. So there's always that.
Somehow, I don't think they're going to give us a Thanos Avengers team up because I don't think the Avengers want to see Thanos right now.
Anything is possible.
With a crazy Nebula with an Infinity Gauntlet.
But I will say, Josh Brolin was the real breakout star for this movie in terms of
him in Cable.
He was
He
was totally fantastic. His motion capture was freaking stellar. His depth to the character, his actions, his movement, his
voice with Gamora.
And there was this scene on the Asgardian ship where he gets the Tesseract and he takes off the helmet and he takes off the armor as if to say, you know what? I don't need this shit to wield 2 stones. I don't need any protection. Look at me, I'm a badass.
One of my favorite moments was Ebony Maw explaining Thanos' personality, like the standards he held his children to, when he was just like, if I took your corpse, still alive, with the stone on it, there will be judgment.
Yep.
Like, as a West Indian, you know that judgment is on. Thanos basically was a West Indian mother. Like, you realize that, right? Impossibly high standards.
You cannot please a West Indian mother. They don't play. Caribbean mothers don't play. My grandmother always said, do good madass. If you're wrong, do bad madass. You're still wrong, do bad madass. One time, my mother was a pelter, so I didn't do anything. I just ran.
And we know that Nick Fury is the outside man.
But
so this was good, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will do it again. But thank you all for watching.
I'm Slut Tracy.
Blue Tracy.
Fangirl Tracy. And you all will see us again soon. We promise to do these more often. We promise to come back to Infinity Wars because there's a hell of a lot of stuff we didn't unpack. And we have Deadpool coming out on May 18th. We have Solo coming out on May 25th. And then we have Ant-Man in July.
Yeah.
Definitely a Star Wars fan.
All right, guys.
All right, it's been good.
We'll see you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.